It is a pleasure to have Dr. Saumya Dey to be in conversation with us. As you know, we speak about various topics, and one of a very important topic which is coming up is the role of academic institutions in nation building. Okay, and what is the kind of what should be an academic institution? We had heard of Delhi University, Calcutta University, Madras University, Bombay University as big universities which were involved in nation building. Then we had a wave of IITs, information technology and IIMs which kind of looked upon these things. But then there was JNU as well, which played a very important role in nation building, with a lot of bureaucracy, people coming from JNU. But of late, these notions are getting a little blurred. And you have written a very interesting article on what ails JNU to possibly come into and strike a narrative in this discourse. So maybe our listeners would like to know what you think about what ails JNU.
Yes, indeed a lot of things, or at least a few things ail that institution. Though let me also say that it is still a very, very fine institution, and all that I know, the little that I've learned, I owe to JNU. Now, before I come to what ails JNU, let me dwell on a very interesting remark that you made while introducing yourself and me, and a little conversation. That institutions are integral to nation building. Now, what does that mean? From my point of view, as a student of history, whatever little history I learned while at JNU, I'll say that nations are built at two levels. First is the level of imagining. Nations are imagined communities, as once called the poet Benedict Anderson, if I remember correctly. So these imaginings are ideologically underpinned, and these imaginings are produced by scholars and poets. Think of the nationalist history, which originated in Germany at the turn of the 19th century. And the progenitor, so to speak, of this line of history writing was ranking. So this is one level at which nations are constructed by institutions. And at another level, I'll say that they provide the foot soldiers who run the nation, who run the state, which realizes the nation, the bureaucrats, the administrators, etc., etc. So, in this narrative of nation building, nation construction, or nation generation, so to speak, where do I place JNU? JNU has a fraught relationship with this process, because JNU is more into deconstructing the nation than constructing the nation, at least the Indian nation.
Okay.
It has always been on the left of the dominant discourses in this country. And in all senses, politically, culturally, you just name it. So in this situation, in these circumstances, JNU's role has been that of an institution that deconstructs more than it constructs. So this is where I end.
Okay. But you might have to explain what you mean by
Oh yes, definitely. I should have done that actually. It just slipped out of my mind. Okay, so what does deconstruction mean here? Deconstruction means that JNU, the typical JNU scholar assumes that, just like any scholar anywhere of a historian, so to speak, who tries to understand the historical processes through which nations have been generated. So a typical JNU scholar, or let us say a JNU student of history, assumes that the Indian nation is underpinned by certain forms of ideology, beliefs, assumptions, etc., etc. This theoretician of the Frankfurt School, Theodor Adorno, speaking of ideology, he said that ideologies are illusions, but illusions which help societies function. So, deconstructing the Indian nation in this situation will mean that pricing out the illusions which help the Indian nation to function.
Okay.
And eventually it leads to the assumption on the part of the typical JNU scholar that the Indian nation itself is an illusion.
Okay.
It is something that does not exist, and its realization is premised upon violence. And the violence which is inflicted upon the peripheral peoples of the Indian nation, be it those who
So
are
it is violent.
Yes, definitely. They will assume and they will suggest implicitly or explicitly that the realization of the Indian nation is dependent upon violence.
Yes, comes to this kind of a narrative which is often heard that the left is very good in creating the revolution, but they do not know what to do after the day after. Okay. Now, in this sense, whatever you're saying, suppose say if there is a strand of JNU people who think that India should not exist. Let's put it that bluntly. Okay, we might get, but it's not as simple as that. But in simple words, like India should not exist. But what is the alternative to the existence of India?
They do not have it yet. They're yet to find it. They're too busy deconstructing, and that is the issue with these people. They're incapable of suggesting an alternative.
But if, say, impressionable minds do get impressed upon these things, they will start deconstructing India.
Yeah.
But they do not have a replacement at all.
Well, no, they do not have a replacement. I doubt if they even want to have a replacement. Because, suggesting a replacement means having a program, a definite, concrete, accurate program. And in a society like India, we are not living in North Korea or Saudi Arabia. We are living in a democracy. So if you have a concrete program, to realize it, you must also take it to the people. It has to be democratically realized in a society like ours. But are they capable of having this program, devising this program? And even if they do devise one, do they have the willingness to take it to the people? No, they don't. They're too disconnected. And this is something I tried to suggest in the article that you alluded to, referred to at the start of our conversation.
Right. I have one very interesting thing. Suppose, say, if JNU scholars were in North Korea or Saudi Arabia, would they also say that North Korea should not exist, Saudi Arabia should not
No,
exist?
they won't be able to. They won't be able to. Once again, let me refer to another scholar, E.P. Thompson, who has done some very splendid work in the area of labor history. And there is, in particular, one article by him which I remember at the moment. It's I've forgotten the exact title of it. It's on popular culture of the working classes, of the laboring masses at the turn of the 19th century. And he tried to display in this particular essay that I'm referring to, it can be found in this volume, by the way, Custom, a very wonderful book that one should take time off to read. Anyway, so in this article, this essay that I'm referring to, he tries to understand the logic behind the working class popular culture, or the popular culture of the laboring masses, and how it functioned and allowed these masses, the laboring masses, to deal with their superiors, the aristocrats. And this dealing with the superiors, with the aristocrats, created, according to E.P. Thompson, a field of force. He suggests, he does concede that the social superiors did act in a way which allowed them to exercise a level of hegemony upon these people. But according to him, this hegemony was not absolute. It only set a limit, a boundary within which social relations or social negotiations could happen.
Okay.
And he terms this dynamic process a field of force.
Okay.
It set the limits of legitimacy. So within these limits of legitimacy, a lot could be possible, but you could not transcend the limits of legitimacy. However, societies or political orders such as the Saudi Arabia and North Korea do not function upon this logic. Their logic is plain force. A society or a political order such as India does not use plain and rude force alone. It also creates, I will say, referring back to this article, to this essay by E.P. Thompson, that it creates a field of force, which sets the limits of legitimacy within which a lot is possible. But at the same time, you cannot transcend and breach the limits of these legitimacies. Probably I'm coining a word which is not recognized by the dictionary, but let me coin it because it is convenient for me to do so. So it is not possible in a society such as Saudi Arabia, whose premise is force and force alone, but it is possible, such a field of force is possible in a society such as India.
Right.
But the problem with the left is that, at least the extreme left, it comprises of, let me be very frank here, it comprises of rude and generally illiterate people who do speak some smooth English, and it does gain them a measure of legitimacy, yes, and also visibility, more importantly, in a society like ours, but they're not very well read people, let me assure you, my friend. Not at all.
Okay, sure. But the moderate left has kind of died. Okay, it is not there politically active. The student wings are also not there. It is essentially the extreme left.
Oh, well, by the moderate left, I mean the left which was capable of some form of political engagement in a society such as ours, in a democratic polity such as ours, and understood the rules of this engagement, that it has to be carried out within, as I said a while ago, a field of force, within certain limits of legitimacy.
Right.
So this left, the so-called moderate left that you talk about, understood these rules of engagement. But the kind of left that is most visible today, which is visible on the JNU campus, which was visible a few days ago on the Delhi University campus as well, does not at all understand the rules of engagement in a society like ours. It does not want to understand either, because it is essentially a very elitist faction.
Yes, but my problem is the death of the moderate left and this extremist left. What they are pushing is they are essentially legitimizing the other side. They are saying they are legitimizing it.
They are indeed, definitely. They're legitimizing the political right and doing it very hugely. They are accruing more benefits to the political right in this country than the right is ever capable of winning on its own. But they don't understand this, because they do not understand the rules of engagement in a society like ours. They're incapable of it. Once again, let me stress that.
Yes. So so both of us understand this problem, this risk which is being created by the extreme left is going to create risks for the people they want to protect, because they are not protecting anyone. Instead, they are creating.
No, they are not. They are not protecting anyone, and no one needs their protection. Thank you very much.
Fair enough. So, actually, on that note, on a thank you note, I think we have got the point across to people, to or your kind of last words on this. That how would you like to use this medium, or what is your final word on, say, people who do not think about this? Is it time for them to think something about it? Is it time to reinvent, say, the moderate left? So what are your views on this?
You see, the moderate left is dead, and is going to remain dead. It's not going to resurrect itself in a hurry. Why is it so? Let me say that once again, and this might sound a little radical, and a lot of people will not agree with me. I'm aware of that. The moderate left is going to remain dead because its agenda has been stolen by the right. It is the right which is more genuinely the left. It is the right which is probably more genuinely a socially transformative force today.
Can you give an instance of this?
Well, a very obvious instance, Modi's campaign, for example, one of the themes during his campaign was that he will construct a toilet, right, for every household in this country. If this is not a leftist agenda, then what it is? And this is an agenda which should have been taken up by the left. The left did have its opportunities. It ruled West Bengal for 3.5 decades and completely ruined that place. But do you have a toilet for each household, every household in the state yet? I doubt it.
Yes, absolutely.
Open defecation still occurs there.
Yeah. So you essentially the pehle shauchalaya fir diwala.
And once again, Modi's ideas of employment generation, Skill India and such like things, and these should have been these ideas should have come to the left a long time ago, 30 years ago. These ideas did not come to the left.
Yes.
And if the skill generation is not a leftist thing, then what it is? Because it is through skills that traditional social constraints are going to break down in a society like ours, and once again, through the diffusion of skills alone, that social mobility will be triggered in a society like ours.
Right. When I said the last words, you have triggered onto various other things. But anything further you would like to add?
One thing, the problem with the left, both the moderate and the immoderate left, is that it is essentially a form of theatre. Of course, all politics is theatre.
Right.
The element of theatre cannot be removed from politics. Gandhi was the master of political theatre. But the problem with both the moderate and the immoderate left is that it is a victim of its own theatre. Because the primary audience of its theatre is itself.
Right.
It's like I'm making face before the mirror, and I'm so kind of love struck by what I see that I keep making these faces. I do not have the time or the inclination to look left and right and notice that people are laughing at me. This is the problem with the left.
Okay, just kind of an add-on question. DU has never seen this kind of activity. Okay, so one would get this impression that the left is, this extreme left, is gaining momentum. It is not a political agenda. It's spontaneous.
No, it's not gaining momentum. It's discovering new theatres of enactment.
And who are the people who are joining it?
No one is joining it. It's the same half a dozen faces that you will see everywhere. I'm familiar with some of these faces. When I see the television footage, I see them over and over again. No one is joining them. It's an elite exclusive theatre.
Absolutely, and it is quite apparent in terms of the political...
And it's a theatre whose logic is comprehensible only to those who are part of it.
Yeah.
It's like an Antonioni film, you know.
Right.
I hope you're familiar with the Italian director. I tried watching one of his, or a couple of his films, and they were rather incomprehensible to me. So I'm sure they are comprehensible to the graduates of film theory. I, as a lay individual, am not capable of understanding this cinema. It's the same with the audience before which this left performs. The audience doesn't care, it doesn't understand either. But what it manages to do is that it manages to open fracture points.
Okay.
It manages to create ruptures, which are dangerous ruptures, by the way, which will benefit eventually only the extreme right. And that probably will not be entirely to the benefit of this country, but the left does not know this or understand this. Because it is blinkered, because it is elitist.
Excellent. Thank you. This was we can go on various discussions. Maybe moving forward, we can talk about various other things. For example, the role of public institutions as well, and the other things. But we'll stop it here. So hope for many more